Centaur World was a weird watch through. Cause on the outside, there is a bunch of lol I'm so random humor desperately trying to ape the styles of Adventure Time and Steven Universe, clashing art styles, questionable characters. I'm looking at you, Giraffe Guy, what the f*** are you? But underneath all of that, there is some genuine heart and soul there. A story of found families, identity crises, self-worth issues, finding solace in the horrors of war and dealing with the traumas of it. But the introduction of the Nowhere King especially is where Centaur World finally hooked me. This absolutely haunting children's lullaby tune slowly being distorted, alluding to the arrival of this coughing Wendigo goop monster thing with an absolutely haunting vacant expression in its eyes. It stuck out like a bloodstain in snow. Like, I feel like this thing was dropped in the series specifically to f*** with me and to get these damn kids looking up from their Subway Surfer videos. Cause shit gets real very quickly. Like, what the f*** is this thing? And that is a question that I am looking to answer today. Because welcome back to the Villain Vibes. I'm Sage, and today we're taking a look at the tragic horror of the Nowhere King. And if you two are an absolute degenerate that vibes with the villains of fiction, and this seems like the type of content that you might like, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit me up down below in the comments and let me know what other villains from fiction you would like to see me vibe with next. But for now, we must move on with the show. Sage, hit the title. And right off the bat, there is a lot to unpack with this thing in terms of characteristics and design. This cryptid skull with a soulless vacant expression, the gross-ass goop coming out of him from everywhere, all capped off by the coughing and hacking up of said goop, implying that this thing's mere existence is absolute torture.
Life is cruel. Why should the afterlife be any different?
Having been subtly hinted at and built up in the background throughout Season 1, when he finally arrives, it left me asking more questions and being intrigued by what the hell this thing is. Cause all we had to go off of was, he is the King of Nowhere. He lives in the void in between worlds, and everywhere he goes, he leaves death and destruction in his wake. He's a void that consumes all happiness, leaving behind a permanent silence. A being driven only by his hatred of everyone and everything, and that actively enjoys the misery he is causing and the silence that comes with it. Where the hell did this thing come from? And what is this thing's strange relationship with the mysterious lady that we've also been hinting at in Season 1?
You've made me what I am, but it's okay. I forgive you.
I can't do this.
So I guess we'll start at his beginning. There was once this elked centaur dude that worked as a portal repairs person, linking the centaur world and the human world together. Immediately when we first meet him, we can tell that he isn't like the other centaurs that we have seen throughout the show. Man dresses like the humans that he encounters, he's not cartoonish like the other centaurs, and with the short time we spent with him, we see why that is. The prejudice that the centaurs have to deal with on a daily basis, the microaggressions that he has to deal with on a daily basis. They've slowly chipped away at his self-esteem and his self-worth. He resented the way centaurs were looked down on by humans and the way that they were all being treated. But more than anything, he hated the animal part of himself, and he longed to be taken seriously.
What is it like to be taken seriously? To walk on the beach and leave just one set of footsteps behind.
And then he ends up falling for a human woman. And even though she was a caring person who genuinely took an interest in Centaur World and the people of it, and took interest in him as an individual, he still was overcome by his insecurities. And in an attempt to be seen as and to feel worthy of her, he splits himself apart into two beings, an elk and a human man. The man ends up settling down with the woman, marrying her, and his life seems to be going well. But the insecurity still bubbles within the elk, as not only is his body insecurity still there, but it's all being amplified by seeing the life that his human half is living. The man is getting the happy ending. He got to settle down and be with the woman that they loved, while the elk is just left out wandering alone like an animal. And so the elk approaches the man and begs to be put back together again. They haven't solved their problems of insecurity and not feeling worthy of her. Their life is being built on a lie. Everything that they are is a lie. They haven't had the chance to show the woman they loved who they truly were and to be with her as themselves. They just changed themselves into something different. But the man refuses. He has fully committed to the role that he has given himself, and he does not want to go back to his old life. He is finally with the woman that they love, and he has no intentions of showing her who he truly is, because if he does that, then they'll lose her forever. Their entire relationship was built on a lie, the foundations hanging precariously by a very thin thread, one that the man intends to keep hidden. But since their lives are linked, the man cannot kill the elk without dying himself, so instead he has him locked away, and he sits there in the dungeons alone in darkness for 10 years.
He put me in a windowless cell, so small I couldn't even stand. For 10 agonizing years.
Until the woman learns the truth and sets the elk free. However, after a decade of being locked away, the elk has just completely lost it. He doesn't belong anywhere. He can't go back to Centaur World. He has changed far too much and does not feel he belongs there. And everywhere he goes in the human world, he's just treated like an animal. But he longed for connection and a place to belong. So he began mutilating himself in order to create abominations in an attempt to feel some form of love and connection. But it didn't fill the hole in his heart, and he still saw himself as an outcast that didn't belong anywhere.
You don't belong here.
I don't belong anywhere.
And so he embraced it. If the world was going to treat him as nothing more than an animal, and he was seen as nothing more than a beast, then that's who he was going to be. If he was going to be stuck in nowhere, then he was the Nowhere King. He was going to do unto the world what the world had done to him. He was going to cause everyone and everything misery to make up for the misery that they have caused him. All Elktar wanted was to be with the woman that he loved and to be accepted by the world around him. But in doing so, he ended up splitting himself in two and becoming monsters. And he ended up pushing away the only person that ever truly loved him.
Put that thing down. Are you crazy? Just look at what messing with that thing has done to him.
You locked him away in the dungeons. Did you think it would have no effect?
Well, yeah, I guess, but look at him.
What?
He's gross.
No.
The woman, horrified and heartbroken by the monsters that Elktar became, cut herself off from both of them after sealing the Nowhere King away. And that's where we meet the now General and Nowhere King at the top of the series, fighting a war against each other for pretty much nothing at this point, just trying to hurt themselves and dragging a shit ton of innocent people into their own act of self-hatred. Countless lives lost because of Elktar's selfish actions, because he couldn't make peace with himself and be honest with the woman that he loves. His envy for a better life driving him to madness, and his desperation for love leading him to obsession.
All right. So now what?
Now, more suffering. It's all that's left for us.
The tragedy of the Nowhere King is an omen. To not reject the person you are underneath and to change yourself into something unrecognizable just for the sake of being accepted and to be seen as somebody worthy of being loved. The people that love you will stand by you, but you must love yourself. Elktar could not do this. He corrupted himself for the sake of being loved and accepted, and only ended up fueling his own self-hatred. He mutilated himself into becoming a monster because of this self-hatred, and ended up pushing away the only person who had ever truly loved him. Until finally, he just began lashing out at the world out of anger for everything that the world has done to him, and everything that he has lost.
When you leave, I will at last have peace, and our world will finally be free.
Until eventually, the one that he loved had to put him out of his misery for the sake of himself and everyone around him.
You will die, and so will all your lies, when I see the light leaving your eyes.
That's a lot for a show that's full of absolute nonsense and weird centaur creatures, huh? But if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and be sure to hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on Centaur World and the Nowhere King, and let me know what other villains from fiction y'all want me to look at. My next video up should be my X-Men series retrospective. Be looking out for that. But for now, I must bid you all adieu, goodbye, good night, Sage out.